it doesn't matter what you're writing. First of all, you've got to have the research and you have to have the passion for it. So ideally, on a pragmatic level, what I tell my clients before they start a book, before I go through the process of what happens in your head, what happens with the stumbling blocks, what happens when you reach a blank, all those things, I ask them, do you know who your target market is? Okay. Is there a market for your topic? And do you know your topic? Yeah. And how are you going to differentiate yourself from the other books on the market?
Chris-Beth Cowie, the founder of Empowered Facts and the host of BizGrams. Each weekday, I get the privilege of coming to you live and meeting and introducing wonderful entrepreneurs and guests for you today. And today we're super excited because we have Deborah with us, and she is a dynamic writer editor, the president and senior editor at Creative Writing Solutions Services. She has the ability to connect with you and your essence and draw it out. I've had that experience myself working with Deborah to produce my biography. And I want to just say thank you so much, Deborah, for being here with us today. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful today. Absolutely beautiful. It's sunny out in Brampton today. It's warm, and I have the opportunity to speak with you and speak to an audience about the importance of words.
Hey, the power of words. I love it. And so tell us a little bit, Deborah, in terms of your company, Creative Consulting Services. What is it that you do for clients that work with you?
What we do, being a cognitive and intuitive writer, what we focus on is taking your essence, putting it into paper, and ensuring that the words that you are saying is garnering the audience that you need. So we do that through either books, which are nonfiction authoritative books, or we do it through websites and that type of business writing. But the essence of our company is getting your word out and getting yourself known.
Hey, getting your words out and getting yourself known. And as you know, many people, entrepreneurs included, one of the questions oftentimes we're asked is, hey, have you ever considered writing a book? And I think you've probably heard a lot of people say yes, but it never happens. You know, it's like someday, one day, I'm actually in that boat. But thankfully, last year, really spending some time using, you know, the quarantine time to put some words on paper and pen with using my pen, and really starting this process of working on my book, really focusing on our value. And I'll definitely talk to you more about that off camera, but yes. And so in your journey thus far, how long has it been since you've been writing for people to help their essence come out?
Well, it's funny, you know, I'm the type of person, I'm very introspective, but I seem to forget to focus actually on what my journey was and where I am and the things that I have accomplished. So I have taken this COVID time, I've asked people to start writing, but I've used this time to think about myself and where I was and where I am now. So I realized I've been writing all my life. I realized that in high school, the teachers would call on me for poems. I didn't even realize by age 17, I was a published poet, forgot about that. But then I did a lot of editing for my parents. They were university professors and they were completing their masters. So I did a lot of editing there. So I have been writing and editing on nonfiction and authoritative work for quite some time. And that just parlayed itself into people asking me, can you help me with this? Can you take a look at this? And that built my confidence in what I can do. And I also saw it in the work that I did, the companies that I worked for. I found that I was being called on to write manuals. And that's where I honed my skills on office manuals and business manuals, ops manuals. So it's been an absolutely wonderful journey. And then it came to a halt as I never thought about that's the skill that's been granted to me and I'm not using it. I'm pursuing other avenues of income. And then one day on the 401, it hit me like a ton of bricks as I'm holding the steering wheel, totally stressed out. And what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do with my life? I had just moved from Montreal. And then it just hit me like a ton of bricks. You've been a writer all your life. Right. Yeah.
That's
So
powerful.
yeah.
That's powerful. So you started, was it at that point you started creative consulting services, or were you just freelancing for folks at that time?
I thought of the name and I started freelancing. And then I realized that in order to grow this really into a business and have the credibility behind me, I needed to build it as a business. That meant income statements, it meant marketing, it meant, despite the fact that I was one person, it had to be run as a business. So that's when, actually, I'm drinking from the cup right now, job skills came in. And yeah, I one day I just went over there. That's a story in itself for another day of what led up to that day. It was a very anxious day. It was a day filled with tears. There was a snowstorm. It was I think it was my 40, maybe, oh my gosh, what am I saying? My 52nd or 53rd birthday. I'm sitting in a parking lot crying. What am I going to do with my life? And serendipity, God's blessings, courage, confidence in myself. I walked into job skills and said, I need help. I have a really good idea and I'm good at it, but I need help. And I think it's a lot from that experience that I realized that despite the fact that I have a writing business, it's not so much of a business as it is a consulting agency. Because when someone comes to you with an idea or something they have written, it is very dear to them. It is very personal to them. It is their life. And I think you know that. And that's part of the struggle with getting pen to paper, is that you are truly revealing yourself. Even if it's an authoritative book, you are revealing yourself, and people are afraid of that.
Yeah.
So I realized that it's much more than saying, hey, just give me that. Okay, I'll edit it for you. It's X amount of dollars. It's no, let's talk about you. Let's get your essence out. Let's truly pull out what you have and get it onto paper. A lot of times I say, what you gave me is like, really? That's not you at all. And I think you went through a bit of that process with me. We sat down and I really tried to pull out what you were about and make sure to get that essence onto paper.
Hey, and I can honestly say working with Deborah has been a privilege. If you're looking for some support with your writing, getting your story out, I would highly recommend connecting with Deborah and her team. Deborah, you shared your story and, thank you so much for doing that. You talked about, starting this journey at 52, around that age. And what I took away from that, at any age, you have that passion, you have that flavor, you have that essence that you need to come out. I talk about it as the entrepreneurial embers. Like sometimes they go dormant, but it's still there. And at any age, if you're looking and you're trying to figure out what do you do next, Deborah, you talked about going to a place and asking for help, and that job skills is part of my story as well. When I first started as an entrepreneur, making a decision, okay, I'm gonna build this business. I didn't go to school, get my MBA, but I needed to understand what it took to run a business, right? And so even though your services come in the form of consultation, you have to build that business entity around it. And yes, it does require time. It requires you to do all these things, marketing, sales, all of the components, building teams to run a successful business. So thank you so much for sharing that. And viewers, if you're having a chance and looking at this, you can see that entrepreneurship is a journey, right? There's highs and there's lows, but it is a journey and it is very rewarding as well. So Deborah, talk to us a little bit more about your journey. What are some of the highs that you've experienced and some of the challenges you experienced, and how did you overcome those?
Well, I think the first high would have to be shortly after graduating from the job skills program. I started to look for places to network. And one of the first places I went to was the BNI network. And it was good. It was an environment that I was comfortable with in terms of the professionalism because of the background that I had. But then I met a woman, Melissa Romolo, and there is someone who can really connect. I got my first sale out of the gate at $4,000 within 3 weeks of graduating from job skills. And that was the biggest high. The gentleman that I got the contract with is actually on Instagram and we still connect, and he's got a thriving business. That's the best part. He now has a manual that can lower his liability and instruct his staff on what to do. So that was a super big high for me. Some of the lows, and they still do come because I'm a bit of an empath. So my lows come when I feel that I have not satisfied the client. And it's a difficult thing to explain, but it's not so much of a business or financial low as it is a type of energy, spiritual low that I felt that I have not had another success. I'm very competitive with myself, probably a little bit too much. So I need to ensure, I don't need to hear from the client that, oh, you did an amazing job. I need to know that I did an amazing job. I need to know that I've done the best that I can for them. So that's when I would say some of my lows are there in terms of the business. And I think the low that I'm not trying to get into right now is rheumatoid arthritis, my hands. So some days are difficult. Some days the spirit and the energy really want to get on and start writing. And then other days the hands say, no, you've got to take a little break today. So I would think that's about the only low in the business. But I also have a business partner, and I've not had to not do anything. So yeah. So overall, I would say it's pretty, I try to stay as even keeled as possible. I do ride the waves like we all do. But overall, I think I found that little happy button that keeps me balanced despite what goes on. I don't know how I found it, but I found it.
Hey, that's awesome. And I love what you shared in terms of seeing that first sale, your customer, and today you were able to deliver something that he's probably still using today, and his company is thriving. So that's really a win. And I could relate. As someone, I say I'm my toughest critic, and yes, but I'm curious, have you figured out ways in which to manage that just self critic, or like just self-doubt? Oh my goodness, I didn't do my best, or how do you manage those emotions?
Well, the first thing I do is I don't justify them. I don't say, well, it's happened because of this, it happened because of that. I accept it for the way it is. And I remember that if it's just myself, that's fine. But in general, when those things happen, they involve other people. They involve a client, they involve a business partner, they involve someone else. So I have to keep that in mind, that these emotions that I have are my emotions and they're triggered by someone else. I can't control them. I don't know how they're feeling. They may be feeling the same way. So I have to go with that, but it's not an easy task. It's reconciling, and it takes days. It takes sometimes years that you have things, but you just have to learn to ride the wave. And I think for me, I see what happens to people when they don't try to manage their emotions, or they try to justify if it's a situation that is not good, or it's a challenging situation, you made a mistake. It's just accepting it for what it is, and realizing that there's so many other forces, so many other things that are out of your control, and you can only take care of yourself. My daughter has an interesting way of putting it. She plays The Sims a lot, and they have the little plumb bobs, or they tell you your emotion level that has to be met. And she said to me a couple of weeks ago, she says, Mom, that's how I live my life. I work by those emotions. If one emotion says I'm really hungry, I deal with it first. and you go through. So I've learned a little bit from that it's a step by step, and you just ride the wave. But knowing yourself, I think, is the best, and having confidence in yourself. And yeah.
I can honestly agree 100% with what you just shared. Like, really spending some time understanding my strengths, my weaknesses, being in a place where if I know I need to get help, I ask for help, and really being confident in the things that I can and have the ability to do. So I can agree with that 100%. One book that I would recommend and oftentimes go back to is Loving What Is by Katie Byron. She talks about, as you talked about, acknowledging the situation, but realizing that you can only control what you can control, right? And that is yourself, your emotions, your thinking around the situation. And that has really helped me over the years as well, just navigating this path, right? Because you do your best, but sometimes it may not be translated that way, right? And really coming to that understanding. You talked about reconciliation. I love that word, because it's like on meeting the client or the person where they are and really coming to an understanding of how can we move forward? What are some of the things I can, and really setting boundaries for yourself. Sometimes they want the world and it's not within scope, and really having some honest conversations then as well. So really powerful. Thank you so much, Deborah, for sharing those insights.
Well, just as you said, everything that you just said there is what happens in my line of work. It truly is. It's a meeting halfway and understanding that the skills I have, they may want, and it's just always working together and knowing who you are.
Yes, yeah. So let's talk about writing, okay?
My Lord.
Yeah, yes. So let's say someone's looking and they're like, man, I have this book inside of me and I want to get it out. What should that person do or need to have before they contemplate writing a nonfiction authoritative book?
People have asked me if I've written my own book, and I've written numerous books for other people under their name. I'm writing a book right now, and part of the reason why I'm writing the book is that I do need to get the story out. But I also wanted to walk in the shoes of my clients that are just starting the process. And if I had hair on my head right now, I would pull it out. I would just yank. It's difficult. It is very hard. It is very time consuming. My book is on bathing, so it's very different. But even with not an authoritative book, it doesn't matter what you're writing. First of all, you've got to have the research, and you have to have the passion for it. So ideally, on a pragmatic level, what I tell my clients before they start a book, before I go through the process of what happens in your head, what happens with the stumbling blocks, what happens when you reach a blank, all those things, I ask them, do you know who your target market is? Okay. Is there a market for your topic? And do you know your topic? Yeah. And how are you going to differentiate yourself from the other books on the market or books that are similar to yours? You have to go through those points first, and then decide whether you have the foundation to meet those criteria. Because if you start a book not knowing who your target market is, not knowing if there's anything for your book, and worse, if you know nothing about it and you're pulling it all from your head, you may not succeed. it doesn't matter. I found with the book that I'm working on right now, it really doesn't matter what's in your head. Whatever's in your head, there's information out there on the internet to either refute it or acknowledge it, to give it credence. So it doesn't matter what you're writing about, you need to research it. And you truly need to know whether there is a market for it and how you're going to differentiate yourself. There are numerous books out there by coaches on just about everything. And the key is to differentiate yourself. So what I ask my clients is, what is your philosophy? Even if it's a melange, a mix of different philosophies, you've created your own. All those guys out there, Robbins, all those people, they're pulling from spiritual works. And what they've done is just translated it into money speak and self-help speak. So I shouldn't just focus on the money side of it, on self-help as well. But all these ideas are out there. So it is up to us now to take what you know, what you've experienced with what's out there, if you're writing one of these books, and meld it together. And people, you've got to come up with something different. You really do. You cannot regurgitate what's out there already. And if it's the same topic that's been written on 1,000 times, if you're thinking of writing it, you must have a different angle for it. And it's finding that different angle and writing about it writing from that angle, which is what's going to make your book different and succeed. But it's very much a process. You have to go through those things. And then after that, you've got to deal with yourself and your emotions and everything. But people do it, and everyone is doing it. And it can be done. From my point of view, you get help from an editor, you can write a book. If you get help from someone who can pull it out of you and push you, and I tell my clients, working with me is not easy. I'm going to ride your back. I'm going to remind you you owe me a draft. I'm going to remind you haven't finished editing this. I'm going to remind you that I'm sitting here getting paid for nothing. So let's get some work done. And get you back. That's a process for me with how it works with me.
Yes, yeah. So, I got understanding who's your target audience. And we here on BizGrams, we've been talking to entrepreneurs and saying you have to get clear on your target audience for your business. You're even hearing it to write a book. You need that sense of clarity. So that is so key. And I love it. Doing research. We talk about you have to go out and do primary and secondary research. For your book as well, you need to do some research. And bring your authenticity and essence into your business. And you heard that as well. So there's so much correlation with writing a book and running a business. That's really powerful.
Yeah, writing a book, it's challenging just like anything else. And I think you hit on something there. It's like running a business. So I think if I know how my brain works, I think clients, if they could start thinking of it as a business, that it needs certain components to make it whole, they will understand what the process is of having to write a book. I mean, you know, really knowing your audience and delivering what your audience wants. That's the key in a book, delivering what your audience wants. And I think that's what makes the book successful, and finding the clarity and the flow. And it's got to have a story to it. Even if it's a authoritative book, it still tells a story. And that's where you infuse your essence into it with examples of experiences from your life or from someone else's life, or just your own thought on something.
Yes, yeah. No, I love it. And so, Deborah, for those out there looking at us today and beyond, what tips or advice do you have for them, you know, as they are going on this entrepreneurial journey?
Tips and advice. I think if you want to write a book, just start. Really, it's simple. Just start. Start making notes. start using your phone and recording your thoughts. A key point there, I really suggest giving it a title and a date, because 2 weeks down the road, you might come up with the same thought, but said in a different way. And that's how our brains work. A lot of times we're repeating the same things over and over and over. We're just saying it in a different way. So it's important that you record the date to it. Really just start writing it down. Give yourself an outline. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. All there is to it. The beginning introduces the client or the reader to what you're about to tell them. The middle is the chunk, it's the main meal. Everything that I introduced you to, this is what's all about. The ending is like the dessert. Okay, we're done. Let's wrap it up with a little aperitif, a little something sweet, a little gift bag to take you home, which are the tips. Oh, and here's my phone number. Give me a call the next time. So your call to action. Even in a book, you must have a call to action. If it's an authoritative nonfiction book, you must have a call to action. So beginning, the invitation, I'm going to tell you what it's all about. Middle, the main meal, this is it. The ending, the dessert, and the call to action. Just 3 things you need.
That is so powerful. Thank you so much for that. My final question to you, Deborah, is what is something funepical? So funepical is my word, fun and epic combined, meaning great or small adventures expressed in whatever way. But what is something that is funepical you do to express self-love?
Oh, it's I know what it is. It's the thing I love to do the most. Is take a bath, believe it or not. And that's the book that I'm writing on the essence of bathing, what you can gain from bathing. My best ideas come to me in the bathtub. And I mean, they are epic ideas. They are jump out of the tub, skip down the hallway. Doesn't matter if I left a trail of water, you get that pen and paper and you write it down. And for me, that is it blends relaxation, it enhances my intuitive nature. It brings me that creative balance that I need. Because when I'm in the tub, there's nothing else you can do but either relax or think. And so for me, I would think that I'm not these days very physical, but outside of that, it would be connecting with nature once again. For me, that's just takes me to another level. I describe it as fun.
Hey, I'll take it. I love it. Actually, our guest on Monday also talked about taking a bath. So this week we seem to have a theme around, just that alone time in the water, the tub, and reflecting and thinking. So power to you, Deborah. And it's great. I look forward to reading your book about bathing.
Yes, thank you. Now you see, this is what we all need, the inspiration to say, oh my gosh, she wants to hear my book. Let me go back and start writing some more. And I wish you the same as well too. Girl, just start.
Yes, thank you. I have started, and now it's like, when do I get to that first draft? So the thing that I'm working on right now is making sure that I have some time set aside to write, right? And think about what I want to write about and doing it, not just thinking about it, but putting it into action, right? Because the book is within me and it needs to come out. Actually, I would say the books. I have a target of 40 books in my lifetime. But to your point, you got to start, right? So the first one has to come out. So I'm on my way, I like to say. But thank you so much, Deborah, for being here with us today. I learned so much. Do you have any final thoughts or comments before we hop off today?
Just one last tip, and actually this is very important. Don't self-edit when you're writing. Just write, truly just write. Your brain will figure it all out near the end and start moving things around, but just write. Don't edit, don't self-edit yourself, don't critique yourself, don't give yourself a hard time. But don't worry that everything might be underlined red saying that you've spelled it incorrectly. Just write. That's all that you need to do. It's just right.
Hey,
That's my goal. Yeah.
Powerful. So Deborah, tell us, how can we get in contact with you, or can viewers get in contact with you to learn about you as a dynamic person and entrepreneur, but also your company, Creative Consulting Services?
Initially, you can check us out at our website, where you will get an example of the type of writing we do, because it is exhibited on our website, as well as some articles that I've written and my business partner, Angie, has written. And that is creativeconsultingservices.ca. For me, if you wish to get in touch with me, I can be reached at Deborah at creativeconsultingservices.ca. And that's Deborah, DEBORAH. And I would love to chat to you. I'm on LinkedIn as well, where you can get some more info about me. And if you're interested in looking at an authoritative nonfiction book, let's just talk. Yeah, let's just talk.
That's awesome. And so folks, we'll make sure that Deborah's information is in the description. Definitely want to connect with Deborah and her team. A dynamic duo, I like to say, doing amazing things over there as well. But to all the viewers, thank you so much for being here with us today. Deborah, to you, thank you so much for being here. From our team at E4X to your team over there at Creative Consulting Services, sending you lots of love and a little heart too. Big heart, little heart. And to the viewers here at E4X, we just love introducing you to awesome entrepreneurs in our community, people that are doing dynamic things, hoping to inspire and encourage you on your journey as well. Thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you. And to you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.